Assalamu alaikum, class 7. How are you, students? I hope you all are fine and doing great in your studies. Good. Okay, students. Who will tell me what we have learnt in the previous lesson? Good. We were talking about quadrilaterals. Yes. Who will tell me what are quadrilaterals? Good. Any four-sided shape. But there is a condition on this shape that it must be closed. So you can define a quadrilateral in such a way that any four-sided closed shape, that shape is known as quadrilateral. Okay? This shape has four sides and four angles in different angles of different types. The first we learned first type was square. What is a square? You all are familiar with a square from class, playgroup or nursery. Am I right? Yes. So what is a square? A square is a shape, a quadrilateral, whose have four equal sides and all angles are good of 90 degree. And what are 90 degree angles called? Good. They are called right angles. Okay, students, who will help me to draw a square? Is this a square? No. A square have four equal sides, so all sides must be equal. I tried to draw a shape with all sides equal. This is a square. A square has four equal sides, four equal angles. What about parallel lines? Opposite two pairs of parallel lines. Then what about diagonals? First of all, tell me what is a diagonal? We discussed it in the previous lesson. What is a diagonal line? A line that joins opposite corners of a shape, that is called diagonal. For example, this is a diagonal line and this is also a diagonal line. So, two diagonals are equal in length and they bisect each other. What does it mean? Bisect. The word bisect means to cut down into two parts half. Okay. Similarly, this is a rectangle. And what are the properties of a rectangle? A rectangle have two opposite sides which are equal. And two pair of parallel lines, four equal angles which are of 90 degree. And they are called right angles. G. Can anyone tell me the other property? Yes, what about its diagonals? It has two diagonals. One is this and the other is this. Are they equal in length? Yes, of course. And are they bisect each other? Good, yes, because they cut each other into the middle point of that line. Okay. G. Next we will discuss a next type of a quadrilateral, which is parallelogram. What is the next type? Parallelogram. Okay. I asked you to observe the shape of of parallelogram and a rectangle and find out the differences and similarities. Okay, I am drawing here. This is the rectangle. Okay, but if I push the upper corner of this triangle to the right side like this, I'll push like this corner, so it will become shape like this. Okay, ये हमारे पास क्या shape होगी? This. So this is a parallelogram. Okay, this is a parallelogram. Now let's talk about its properties. What about its sides? A rectangle have two opposite sides which are equal. So in parallelogram, these two opposite sides are also equal. So there is a similarity and also the property of a parallelogram, which is opposite sides are equal. G. Now observe any other property between these two shapes. Parallel sides. A rectangle have two pairs of parallel sides. And what about parallelogram? Good. A parallelogram also have two pairs of parallel sides. So this is also the similarity between rectangle and a parallelogram. Okay. Now observe the angles of a rectangle and a parallelogram. In this shape, this is the rectangle, all four angles are of 90 degree. But the angles of a parallelogram are not right angles. So there is a difference. This is the difference between parallelogram and a rectangle. We can say that opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. Opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. Okay? What does it mean by opposite? This angle and this angle, these two angles are equal. Similarly, this and this, these two angles are equal. Okay? Now, what about its diagonals? What about the diagonals of a parallelogram? There are two diagonals and they bisect each other. Now see the diagonals of a parallelogram. Are they equal in length? Yes. And are they bisect each other? Yes. So this is also a similarity between a rectangle and a parallelogram. Diagonals bisect. So if I ask you to write the differences between parallelogram and a rectangle, so we have only one difference, which is about angles. In a rectangle, angles are of 90 degree. And in parallelogram, opposite angles are equal, but they are not of 90 degree. Okay? And rest of all the properties are similarities. We can see easily that in rectangle, this is parallelogram is the modified form of rectangle, you can say. So they have many properties which are same. Okay? Now the next quadrilateral which we want to discuss is the rhombus. What do you know about rhombus? Do you know what is a rhombus? G. Who wants to tell me what is a rhombus? How it looks like? G, students. We have a shape of, this is a square, and our parallelogram is formed after the modification in rectangle, and after the modification in square a rhombus is formed. See this, like if we push the upper corner of the square, a rhombus is formed. It looks like this. Sides are equal. This is a rhombus. Now observe the properties of a rhombus and then find the similarities and differences between rhombus and a square. Yes, the first property. What about equal sides? G. Good. All four sides of a square are equal, and as this is the modified form, so length of the side must be same, and a rhombus also have four equal sides. This is the similarity between these two shapes. Next, what about parallel sides? A square have two pair of parallel sides. Now what about rhombus? Now rhombus also have two pair of parallel sides. These two and these two. So two pairs of parallel sides. This is also the similarity between these two shapes, a square and a rhombus. What about angles? G. What about angles? You can see that in a square all angles are of 90 degree. But what about a rhombus? Can we see the angles in a rhombus? No. In a rhombus, opposite angles are equal, just like parallelogram. This is the difference between a square and a rhombus, that opposite angles are equal in rhombus, and in a square all angles are of 90 degree. So this is the difference. Now see the diagonals. As we know that a square have two diagonals and they bisect each other. Now tell me the diagonals of a rhombus. Diagonals bisect each other. Okay? Diagonals bisect each other. Good. And this is also the similarity. Oh, students, I am observing another property between the diagonals. What it is? I am drawing the diagonals of a square and a rhombus clearly so that you are able to observe it. I tried my best. No, this is not a rhombus. Okay, observe the diagonals of a square. How they bisect? Can you tell me? G. Anybody? Diagonals bisect at right angle. This is the right angle, no? So you can write another property that diagonals bisect at right angles. And this is also the similarity bisect at 90 degree. Okay, now your assignment is to observe the diagonals of a rectangle and a parallelogram, whether they bisect at 90 degree or not. Okay. The next is a very irregular shape, irregular quadrilateral. Guess what? G. A trapezium. Good. The next shape is quadrilateral is trapezium. How it looks like? Do you have any idea? No, let's see. Any irregular shape with straight sides, that is called trapezium, but there is only one property which must be followed by a trapezium, otherwise this shape will not be a trapezium, which is, can you observe any property between the in this trapezium? Okay, see carefully and then tell me which property this is observing. We can't say all sides are equal, we cannot say opposite sides are equal, we cannot say that angles are equal or opposite angles are equal. We can't say about diagonals that whether they bisect each other or not. But there is only one property which is must to be followed by this, which is parallel sides. There must be one pair of parallel sides. Okay? This is the only property which is to be followed, that a trapezium is an irregular shape but it has at least one parallel side, pair of parallel sides. Okay? There is no other property of trapezium except this. So this is a trapezium. Now the last property is kite. Kite. I am drawing here. Kite is a shape like this. This is a kite. G. Now tell me about sides of this kite. Number of equal sides. Can you say that opposite sides are equal? No. We can easily compare that this is short and this is long. But we can say that the adjacent sides are equal. Adjacent means connected, the next to the other. ठीक है? इससे अगली साइड ये है, connected है ये. These two sides are equal. Similarly, these two sides are equal. Okay? Now what about angles? We cannot say anything about angles. What about parallel sides? Not necessarily, but we can say that in any type of kite, these two sides or these two sides may be parallel. Not in all the cases, but in any one or two cases. It depends on the kite, the formation of a kite. Okay? What about its diagonals? I am drawing the diagonals. This is first and this is second. So what about the diagonals of, are they bisect each other? दोनों डायगोनल्स जो हैं वो एक दूसरे को बिल्कुल हाफ पे कट कर रहे हैं? No. Any other property which you can observe? Very good. Diagonals bisect at 90 degree. Okay? these are the 2 or 3 properties which you can write of a kite. Okay, so now students, your assignment is to write the properties of parallelogram, rhombus, trapezium and a kite. Draw the shape and then observe it and then write the properties in your own words. Okay, thank you students. Allah Hafiz. Take care.